Hello and welcome to the Sacred Truth channel. Today, I want to take you on a journey that is not just historical, it is spiritual. It is emotional, and above all, it is transformative. Because when we talk about Holy Week, many think only of religious events, traditions or dates on the calendar. But the truth is that these days carry the weight of eternity, the meaning of sacrifice, and the deepest revelation of love the world has ever known. And perhaps you have already heard about these days, perhaps you have seen images, movies, stories. But the question is, do you really understand what happened? Can you feel the weight of these moments? Because Holy Week is not just something to be remembered, it is something to be lived, understood, and, most importantly, internalized. It all begins with an entry that seemed ordinary, but carried a meaning that few understood. Jesus enters Jerusalem not as an ordinary king, not with armies or political power, but with humility, riding on a donkey. The crowds greet him with enthusiasm, shouting Hosanna, celebrating, believing that something great is happening. But here is the detail that changes everything. Many were celebrating the wrong idea of who he was. They expected a political liberator, someone who would change the external system, but they were not prepared for someone who came to transform the interior. And this reveals something profound. It is possible to be close to something sacred and yet not understand its true meaning. It is possible to celebrate and at the same time be spiritually blind. As the days go by, tension rises. Jesus teaches, confronts, reveals truths that disturb. He exposes hypocrisy, challenges religious structures, touches wounds that no one wanted to face. And the more the truth is revealed, the more resistance arises. Because truth has that power, it not only comforts, it confronts. It not only embraces, it transforms. And transformation requires renunciation. Then we reach one of the most intense moments, the Last Supper. An environment of intimacy, connection, revelation. Jesus knows what is about to happen. He knows of the pain, the betrayal, the suffering, and yet he chooses to love, chooses to serve, chooses to surrender. He breaks the bread, shares the wine, establishing something that goes beyond that moment, an eternal symbol of sacrifice and covenant. But while he demonstrates love, betrayal is already in motion. And here is one of the strongest truths of this entire story. The betrayal did not come from a distant enemy. It came from someone close. This confronts us deeply because it shows that not all proximity is true connection, and not all presence means loyalty. And then everything begins to collapse. The arrest, the trial, the rejection. The same crowd that once celebrated now shouts for condemnation. This reveals the fragility of human emotions, the instability of opinions, the ease with which people change when the truth does not fit their expectations. Jesus is abandoned, denied, rejected. He faces physical pain, humiliation, extreme suffering. But what makes all this even deeper is not only what happens externally, it is what happens internally. He remains firm. He does not react with hatred. He does not respond with revenge. He does not retreat. He goes to the end. And then we reach the heaviest moment, the cross. A symbol that many know, but few truly understand. The cross is not just pain, it is surrender. It is not just suffering, it is purpose. It is not just death, it is redemption. There in that moment, everything seems lost. Silence takes over. Hope seems to have been buried with him. For many, that was the end failure, the closure of something that seemed promising. But it is precisely there that the deepest point of this story lies, when everything seems over. That is when something greater is being prepared. Because Holy Week does not end at the cross. The silence of Saturday carries an invisible tension. A moment where nothing seems to happen, but everything is being transformed. And this teaches us something powerful. Not all silence is absence. Sometimes it is preparation. Sometimes it is process. Sometimes it is the exact point between the end and the restart. And then the third day comes. The stone is removed. The impossible happens. Death is defeated. The resurrection is not just an event. It is a declaration. Proof that life does not end in pain, that the end is not really the end. That what seemed like defeat was, in fact, the greatest act of victory ever seen. And this changes everything. It changes how we see suffering. It changes how we understand pain. It changes how we face life itself. Because the story of Holy Week is not just about what happened to Jesus. It is about what can happen within you. It is about death and rebirth. It is about fall and restoration. It is about losing and finding something far greater. And perhaps today, you are living your own Good Friday, a moment of pain, loss, confusion. Perhaps everything seems dark, uncertain, without direction. But this story reminds you of something essential. Sunday always comes. The resurrection always comes. Transformation is inevitable when there is purpose. And the question that remains is not just whether you know this story, but whether you are willing to live what it represents. Because Holy Week is not just something that happened, it is an invitation, a calling, an opportunity for deep, real, irreversible transformation. And in the end, that is what truly matters. The journey to Golgotha was not only physical, it was a path filled with pain, abandonment, and absolute loneliness. Every step of Jesus echoed the depth of human suffering. Every fall carried the weight of the sins of the entire world. And every gaze that passed by him could choose to see the man or ignore the Messiah. And yet he continued. There was no rebellion, no giving up. Every step was surrender. Every breath was purpose. Every sigh was redemption. Upon reaching the cross, the scene was brutal, cruel, and relentless. The soldiers mocked. The crowd divided between scorn and curiosity, and even those who should have supported him. The disciples had fled, paralyzed by fear, and there, at the height of suffering, Jesus carried more than the heavy wood on his shoulders. He carried the history of humanity. The mistakes everyone tries to forget. The sins no one dares to face. The pain every heart has silently known. Nailed to the cross, the sky seemed to fall silent. The wind stopped. The light changed. The entire world seemed to hold its breath. And in that moment, humanity witnessed something extraordinary. Love in its absolute form. Given without reservation, without demand, without condition. Every hammer strike, every wound, every suppressed cry was a choice of love, of redemption, of victory over what seemed invincible. And the pain was not only physical, it was spiritual, emotional, cosmic. It was the confrontation with injustice, betrayal, loneliness. It was feeling the weight of rejection that many would never understand. But even in total darkness, even at the moment when everything seemed lost, he looked beyond the pain, beyond death, and his surrender continued. Because the cross was not the end, it was the means to something eternal. And there, between the crowd's shouts and the silence of the sky, Jesus spoke words that echo to this day. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Words of mercy amidst injustice, words of love amidst violence, words that defy all human logic, that confront our own hearts, that remind us that true greatness lies in giving when everything within you wants to receive, in forgiving when everything within you wants to take revenge, in loving when everything within you wants to hate. The sun darkened, the earth trembled. Nature itself seemed to react to a moment that transcended history, and it is precisely there that the depth of Holy Week is revealed. It is not about spectacles, rituals, or calendar dates. It is about the transformative power of sacrifice, about the courage to face everything for what is eternal, about the possibility that even in the cruelest death, divine purpose still prevails. And perhaps the greatest confrontation each of us faces today lies at this point. If we were at Golgotha, what would we do? Would we flee like the disciples, mock like the soldiers, or would we recognize the true meaning of sacrifice, surrender, redemption? Because the crucifixion is not just a historical event. It is a mirror. It reflects our choices, our weaknesses, our priorities, and shows us that living without recognizing the depth of this sacrifice is walking in darkness, ignoring the light that could guide every step of our life. And it is at this point that the narrative of Holy Week becomes even deeper. Sunday has not yet arrived. The impossible is still about to happen. But the lesson of Golgotha is already clear. Pain is real. Suffering is intense, but purpose is eternal. Every tear, every wound, every moment of abandonment has meaning beyond our understanding. Because even in apparent failure, victory is being prepared. And the question for you who are watching now is intense and direct. Do you recognize the depth of the sacrifice? Can you feel the pain, the surrender, the redemption that the cross represents? Or will you continue looking superficially, just repeating words without understanding the transformative power this moment can have in your own life? Because Holy Week is not just about Jesus. It is about you, about every decision you make, about every surrender you choose, about every opportunity for rebirth you let pass or embrace. And if you choose to embrace, to understand, to allow yourself to be transformed by what happened on that hill, then get ready. Get ready to feel something that goes beyond history, beyond the calendar, beyond time. Get ready to realize that love, surrender, and resurrection are not just concepts. They are powers that can change your life now forever. And then comes the moment that changes everything. The impossible happens. Saturday ends, silence is broken, and the stone is removed. The empty tomb is not just a sign. It is a declaration, a message that crosses time, crosses lives, crosses hearts. Death does not have the last word. Suffering is not eternal. Failure does not define destiny. Love, when true, is invincible. The resurrection is more than a historical event. It is proof that life can be reborn even where it seemed impossible. That hope can bloom even in the deepest despair. That what seemed like defeat is, in fact, the greatest triumph the world has ever known. And at that moment, every shadow of the past, every pain, every tear, every abandonment finds meaning. Everything converges to eternity, to transformation, to victory that cannot be erased. And here is the deepest truth. What happened on that Sunday is not just to be remembered, it is to be lived. It is an invitation for every heart to understand that change is possible, that restart is real, that life does not end where death seems to triumph. It is an opportunity to leave fear, doubt, insecurity behind and walk with renewed courage, faith, and purpose. The resurrection is also a personal calling. What Jesus conquered there, He desires to conquer within you. He wants to transform your wounds into strength, your losses into lessons, your falls into rebirth. He wants you to experience in your own life the victory that no one and nothing can take away. Because living without this connection is to remain in darkness. Living with it is to walk in eternal light, even amidst life's storms. And here is where everything connects. The humble entry into Jerusalem, the Last Supper, the weight of the cross, and now the resurrection. Every moment of Holy Week is a reflection of what each of us faces. Pain, betrayal, fear, abandonment, but also faith, surrender, hope, and transformation. Because true victory is not just surviving. It is rebirthing, stronger, more conscious, more connected with what truly matters. And if you feel this now, if you allow this story to penetrate your heart, something within you begins to change. Your view of the world transforms. Your perception of yourself is redefined. And every future choice carries more weight, more purpose, more truth. Because what happened in Holy Week is not the past. It is an invitation for the present, a calling for eternity, an opportunity to live so that every day reflects the light of the resurrection. So reflect, will you allow pain and fear to define your life, or will you choose to be reborn with Him? Will you remain trapped in suffering, or will you embrace the transformation He offers? Even if it costs surrender, courage, and faith, the tomb is empty. The stone has been removed. The impossible has happened. And now, the choice is yours. Because Holy Week is not just history. It is not just tradition. It is not just memory. It is life transformation, eternity. Prepare to live like you have never lived before. Prepare to feel, to be reborn, to be transformed. Prepare yourself, because Sunday has arrived, and with it, victory is real, complete, and definitive. If you have reached this point, with attention, an open heart, and a present mind, leave a comment now saying, "I am ready to live." Because what you are about to hear is not just history, not just tradition, not just a distant narrative. It is a calling. It is a profound invitation that challenges every layer of your existence, confronts your choices, illuminates the dark corners of your life, and offers an opportunity for transformation that can change everything. Don't forget to follow the channel for more reflections that will touch your mind, your heart, and your life. Because Holy Week does not end in the tomb. The cross is not just a distant symbol or a piece of history. It is real, it is concrete, it is intense. Every nail, every blow, every wound Jesus carried was not just physical pain, it was surrender. It was love, it was purpose. And the resurrection that occurred 3 days later is not just a victory over death. It is proof that nothing, absolutely nothing, is impossible for those who trust, who believe, who surrender. Now take a deep breath and imagine the weight of the entire world placed upon Him. Not only the pain of the body, but the weight of all our failures, all our mistakes, all our wrong choices. And yet, He did not back down. He did not give up. He remained faithful, even when the world seemed to conspire against Him, even when humanity itself shouted, "Crucify Him." And here is the point that changes everything. True surrender requires courage, requires renunciation, requires letting go of what seems right to embrace what is eternal. And it is in this same spirit that this story calls us. Because every moment of pain you experience, your losses, your frustrations, the dreams that seem buried, the fears that persist in holding you back is not the end. Every tear shed, every loneliness felt, every wound opened is fertile ground for something greater. It is in this silence, in this wait that we often want to avoid, that real life begins to transform. It is in this inner confrontation that you find the courage to be reborn, to rise, to move forward. And now think, if all this happened out of love, if all this was overcome to pave the way, then what have you been postponing in your own life? What choices have you been making automatically? What fears have paralyzed you? What opportunities for transformation have passed unnoticed? Holy Week reminds us that it is not enough just to hear or remember. It must be lived. You must allow every pain, every challenge, every fall to become momentum for something greater. Because the resurrection is not just a distant event. It is a living reality that wants to touch you now, in this moment. It is an invitation to transform what seemed impossible into victory. It is a reminder that Sunday always comes, even when Friday seems eternal. That light always overcomes darkness, even when everything seems lost. That true life always emerges, even when everything around points to the end. So if you have reached this point, do not close this video as if nothing has happened. Breathe, feel, reflect. Allow every word, every scene, every emotion to reach you, and make a conscious choice. Let the Sunday of resurrection transform your life. Let the light of the impossible penetrate your story. Let what seemed distant, unreachable, or lost become real within you. Because Holy Week is not just about Jesus. It is about you, about your life, about your choices, about your rebirth. It is about leaving darkness behind and embracing the light that never fails, the love that never abandons, and the hope that always wins. It is about understanding that every pain has purpose, every fall is opportunity, every challenge is a path to something greater. If you are ready to live this transformation, then comment now, share your decision, and prepare yourself. Because the life you know is about to find a new beginning. Because the stone has been removed. Because the impossible has been defeated. Because Sunday has come. And now it is your turn to live the victory. And remember, true transformation does not happen superficially. It is not immediate. It is not easy, and it is not visible to human eyes. It happens within you, silently, powerfully, irreversibly. Every choice you make, every step you take, every daily surrender is an opportunity to build deep roots, to become someone unshaken by storms, someone not consumed by fear, doubt, or despair. The cross shows you that it is possible. The resurrection proves that it is real. And now you are invited